Hi, this is Richard again. I'm back. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my musical background. Uh, I don't mean to bore you, but anyway, I thought I'd share a few things. Uh, I had every opportunity to follow a musical career, a singing career, but I decided against it when I read about the kind of life a singer, even an opera singer, has to live out of a suitcase in hotels all over the world and be gone when his children have events and over holidays and they have to perform and all of that. And I decided I didn't want to do that. And besides that, my greatest talent was in art. Uh, I was born an artist, and I did not ever need anybody to teach me anything about art. I taught myself as I was growing up. And by the time I was in the third grade, I was invited to participate in an art contest, citywide art contest among the schools. And I won first prize. Then, when I was in high school, during the summer, I had painted on a watercolor. And in the fall, I showed my art teacher. By the way, my art teachers always let me work independently of the class. I didn't have to participate in any classroom activities in art. And though I took art all of my uh, grade school and high school years, but I showed her that painting I did in the summer, and she wanted to enter it in a national contest, National Scholastic Art Awards. And this was in 1947. And so she sent it in, and my painting won third place in the nation uh, with over 250,000 entries. And then later on, I wanted to paint in oils, and I bought red, yellow, blue, and black and white. It's all I could afford. And from that, I painted a painting, and I entered it in a contest at the Dallas Museum of Art and won honorable mention there. And my dream had always been to become a commercial artist, an illustrator like Norman Rockwell. Well, I never did do the paintings like that, but I did become a professional artist for about 35 years in Dallas and made quite a good living doing advertising art, mostly illustrations. I illustrated hundreds and hundreds of books in my career. But I was going to tell you about my musical background. and when I was 4 years old, my grandfather would set me up on the uh, dining room table, and he'd ask me to sing him a song every day when he came home from work. And we lived with my grandparents during the Great Depression. And he taught me to sing. He taught me to read music. He taught me music theory, what all the little markings mean on a sheet of music. And so by the time I went to high school, I could read music very well. And when you went to high school in my day, uh, the high school had an elite choir called the a cappella singers, but nobody could get in that their first year in high school. They had to sing in a men's chorus, and then from that, she chose certain boys to sing in the a cappella. But I didn't want to do that, so I asked her if I could audition. And so I did, and I got in my freshman year and sang. I was such a good song or sight reader that I became a section leader in the choir. And so also at the age of 16, I began taking private voice lessons from the best teacher in the city. I studied with her for 6 years, and she really taught me how to sing. She was the greatest teacher I ever had. Taught me how to breathe and control my breathing when I sang. She also taught me how not to sing down in my throat, but to project the sound from my vocal cords into the top of my mouth, just behind my front teeth. And that way you project your voice and it becomes much more powerful. And not only that, but it relieves the stress on your throat. So I never get hoarse. I can sing 3 or 4 hours and I've never been hoarse after singing or for singing. And so I sang there. And when I was 19 years old, my teacher had a recital in which I sang 3 songs. And I didn't know it, but the head of the music department at Texas University was there. And a few days later, I was called into his office and offered a 4-year scholarship in voice. And as I said, I read about the life of a singer, and I decided I didn't want that kind of life. I wanted a more normal life. And so I turned it down. And then after that, through the years, I just sang in church. But in 1974, when we moved, my wife and I moved to Dallas in 1952, and I looked for a voice teacher there. I interviewed 24 teachers, and I didn't find one that would teach me more than I knew at that point. So I didn't take any more voice for a long time. But in 1974, I was doing very well in art, and I bought season tickets to the symphony and the Dallas Chorus, Dallas Symphony and the Dallas Chorus. And we went one night to the Dallas Symphony, and they had a chorus to sing. I learned that chorus had just begun, and this was their first performance. And I told my wife at that time, I'd like to sing in the Dallas Symphony Chorus. And so the next fall, I found that they were auditioning about a block from where I lived. And so I went up there. I had to sing 2 songs, classical songs. One had to be in a foreign language. And then I had to take a sight reading test and then a music theory test. Well, I passed. And I was in the Dallas Symphony Chorus, and I learned that we had to re-audition every fall in order to be in the chorus that year. And I was in the Dallas Symphony Chorus for 14 straight years. During that time, they were auditioning for additional singers in the Dallas Opera. And I auditioned for that, and I got in the Dallas Opera. And I sang 2 years, but I only sang one opera in 1984. And then in 1985, I sang in a second opera. And that's all I did, because you had to memorize about 3 hours of music in a foreign language, plus your stage business. And that was pretty hard when you had a full-time job. So that was a little more than I wanted. But that kind of gives you a little bit of the history of my musical background. I did find a wonderful voice teacher in 1984, and I took voice from her. She was one of the best teachers in Dallas, and I took from her for about, I think, 8 or 9 years. And then I found, when I moved to Florida, I found a good voice teacher there, had another 5 years of training. And then many years later, after I was 70 years old, I found a good teacher where I was living, and I took with her for another 7 years. And so I had quite a lot of classical training, and I used to sing pretty well. But in 2007, something happened to my voice, and I couldn't sing. I could speak, but I couldn't sing. And I couldn't sing a note for 10 years. But in 2017, in May, my voice began to come back. And so I began to sing on a karaoke site in June of 2017. Since then, I've recorded, I think, more than 4,000 recordings. And then I began to find out that I could post them on YouTube. And so I began doing that a couple of years ago. But then I found out recently that that was probably illegal. And so I've got to find another way to sing, or I may sing for you a cappella without any musical track behind me. But when I do that, you get warts and all with the singing. But we're still trying to find a way that I can get a backtrack to sing with. And I hope that I can do that pretty soon. And when my voice came back and I began to sing, I could barely sing at all in 2017. And but as time went on, I got a little bit better. But my voice is nothing like it was before I had that problem in 2007. I had a very big operatic bass voice, and I was in 2007. I had auditioned to do the lead in Felix Mendelssohn's great oratorio, Elijah. You can listen to that and hear the soloist that sang the part of Elijah, and I was quite able to do that. But I could no more do that than I could fly today. I'm just barely able to sing, and in my estimation, I don't sing very good at all. But after all, I am 92, so what do you expect? Anyway, that's a little bit, and I'll tell you more next time. Thank you for listening.